Yo, my name is Big Lou, and you are now listening to Go Produce. We're the show that explores how music industry professionals turn their passion into profits. In this episode, you've got Derek Young, a DJ with drive who does major festival work on top of keeping nightlife in London, Ontario poppin'. The Go Produce focus of this episode is how do you remain relevant in a student town over an extended period of time while continuing to enjoy the process? If you go out to bars, clubs, restaurants, or festivals, then this episode is for you. Thank you, Derek, first and foremost, for being here. I want you to know that we do really appreciate your time, so why don't we go ahead and go produce. Listeners, let me tell you who we've got here today. Derek Young started out DJing in high school. He then moved from Toronto to London, Ontario for university, and by his fourth year, he was confident in his decision to pursue music full-time. This led to combined degree with Western and Fanshawe, and to him becoming the host of the radio show Return of the DJs on 106.9 The X for 2 years. Derek enjoyed DJing, but he realized it wasn't enough, that he had to offer more if he wanted to continue growing his career. He gathered some friends and eventually turned that group of people into Premier Productions, also known as Premier Life. As Premier continued to grow, Derek started exploring other avenues within the scene and ended up working internationally with Breakaway Tours, booking roughly 650 trips a year for their well-known spring break vacations. Fast forward to when Derek met his current business partner, Kirk. The two built their own concert division and worked on major projects like London's Block Party, having featured Avicii, university events such as Western's Homecoming, and endless bar nights at the Barking Frog. On top of all of that, he's also been involved in major talent buys for artists such as the late Avicii, the late Juice WRLD, Calvin Harris, Deadmau5, Tyga, and many, many more. Derek Young, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Let's get right into it. Like I said, we do appreciate your time. So the first segment that we're going to get into is called POW, the Basics. Oh, we got the music. Just a little bit late in queue. It's cool. We just need to get more coffees. But yeah, so the basic, what we're going to do is we're going to run through some simple questions so that we can get to know you better, Derek, so that our audience can have an idea of what to expect here. My first and favorite question to ask is, what is your first musical memory?
First musical memory, listening to, I don't know what age, but going through my mom and dad's record collection when I was a kid. Oof. Probably. Oof. And not really knowing what the music was, but just thinking it was cool that I could put the needle down and a sound would come out in the headphones. I was probably like 5 or 6 at the time. I don't think I really had an appreciation for the music. It was just more of the novelty thing.
Yeah, it was almost magic.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this contraption making this noise?
Where do these sounds come from, and how come it's on this big round disc?
And did the sound, the energy, the wave concentration of the sound kind of make you want to continue? What was it with the sound that I should say resonate. Resonate's a good word. What was it that resonated with you with the sound when you first discovered that?
I think it was just, I think it was just more, I thought it was like a cool, novel thing. The appreciation for music, I think, came from probably because my dad collected a lot of music, so it was always around the house. So grew up listening to a very eclectic mix of music. So I think it was just always accessible to me. So that's I didn't really play any instruments or anything like that when I was that young. So I didn't pick that up until later. But so it was just having music around at all times, and getting new music was always available at the house. So it was just something that I just kind of gravitated towards.
That's super cool. I wonder at what point, not necessarily in your life particularly, but at what point does music change from being noise to music for the young mind? Because they can still be stimulated by this, but if you didn't really have an appreciation for it.
I think I don't know. I have when my kids were super young, I used to play music for them all the time. And certain types of music would elicit different types of responses. think there's definitely like, well, you can attest to this being in the industry. I think music elicits some sort of emotional response, and
At least good music does.
yeah, well, bad music too. You might hate.
Good point. Good point.
I think there's an emotional connection with it right away. I think that I don't think it's. I think you do understand that it's not just noise from the very beginning, but I think it if you listen to a song when you were say 5 years old, and then you listen to it 20 years later, it'll sound different to you, because I think that your experiences get tied into the music. We all know when you go to a bar night or whatever, and you hear a song that you remember from when you were like 10 or 11 years old, there's like a nostalgic kind of quality to it, so it almost makes it sound better.
Yeah.
Maybe in that moment when you first hear it, whatever your visceral reaction is to it, this is amazing, this sucks, I'd never listen to this again. You lose that feeling because you're not hearing it for the first time. But there's definitely like you're saying, like a nostalgic quality here in like older music or whatever, that your experiences get tied into the way you feel about the song.
It's like a nicely aged wine.
Yeah, exactly.
It can grow better with time. That's very interesting. Speaking of nostalgic moments, you are currently the owner of Premier Life Hospitality, but the former owner of Premier Productions. What is the story there? Is that an adjustment to the business?
Okay, so a quick timeline of what happened was Premier Productions that was just the original name of the company. I had it started with another one of my friends, and we did graphic design for people.
That's how you started?
Yeah, I wasn't doing the graphic design, but I was like more of the middleman and came up with some of the concepts for people, and then helped them put together advertising concepts.
Right.
So, and then we started throwing a few parties here and there. And then it started to grow as we started to meet some more people. We changed the name because somebody that I was working with at the time was working heavily on developing a blog. So when we developed the blog, it was premierlife.ca. And we kind of shifted away from the Premier Productions. It just became Premier Life. Once the blog took off, it just didn't make sense to have two company names.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. And so what does your position look like today at Premier Life?
It's evolved. It's definitely evolved over time. I think, like I said at the beginning, we were helping hospitality businesses put together, design and advertising concepts.
Right.
Later went into organizing parties, and then all of that included with organizing parties, advertising concepts, and then concerts. And my position currently, which is kind of running, still doing everything, but with added responsibility. I think the company I wouldn't say it's taken a back seat necessarily. It's not as intensive as it used to be. We used to run 4 or 5 nights at 3 or 4 different bars, plus concerts, plus the blog.
Oh, I know. I was there.
Yeah. So now it's more, we're focused on content curation.
Yeah.
Helping people curate artists for concerts and leveraging those like contacts we've developed over the years to put together concerts. And then over the past 5 or 6 years, our group has been heavily involved with the Barking Frog. So that's been a major concentration, and then a lot of events with the university. So that's been the crux of our business, I'd say, for the past 4 or 5 years.
I hear you. Between like you just touched on a whole bunch of different projects that you've either working on or have worked on. Between all the house parties, bar nights, student tours, and I don't know, festivals, concerts, you must have a memorable story or two. Can you bless us with something like that?
Oh hell no!
Yeah, I don't know what the audience listenership is going to be like, so I'll keep it PG. Um,
Relatively. We can if it breaks the story, feel free to just give it full force and we can do the editing later.
I don't want to throw anybody under the bus either. So
Fair.
I think a memory, a fond memory for me. I'll do one DJing one and one concert related one. So I remember um, when we first got um, into the concert game, we got lucky and we kind of usually kind of there's like a slow gradual progression. You start off doing smaller concerts and then you work your way up, start doing bigger ones.
Yeah.
Our first concert was Deadmau5.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so
What?
I don't think I had a real appreciation for what I mean, we had no idea what we were doing. We pretended like we knew what was going on, but there was a party that was put on by some of our friends that they were doing. There was a tent party before this, before the tent party kind of brand started doing massive DJ acts,
Okay.
and they were pretty successful doing it, but they were looking for a way to grow the concert outside of their immediate friend group, basically, right? And the connections that they had. And we were running a lot of bar nights at the time, where the old Toboggan, where Toboggan is right now. There used to be a bar called Jim Bob's. And
Jim Bob's.
oh yeah, we were throwing some bangers there.
Been there. Done that.
So we were doing a lot of nights. So we got approached because we had a very good reach with students. And this group of guys, they asked us if we'd jump on board. Through the process of, finagling with agents and whatever, the person who was curating, we weren't the person doing the talent buy at the time.
Okay.
They came to us and said, hey, would you guys be interested in doing Deadmau5? This is when DJs weren't that expensive, but I mean, relatively. But
Right.
so we had no idea what was kind of going on. A lot of hard work went through with the team, but I remember being backstage, and then I don't know. I think about a third of the way through the concert, I didn't even see what was going on. I was so nervous. I got a chance to stand up on stage. Just I don't know, randomly. I was like, let's
Yeah.
see what this looks like.
Yeah.
And I think I don't remember how many people there were there. I think my memory is like there's 8,000 people, but it could have been
Oof.
less. But whatever, right?
Yeah.
I remember standing up on stage and looking out at the back and looking all the way down to the back of the crowd. And like, holy shit!
Yeah.
There's a lot of people here, and just like having a moment of like panic, being like, holy shit! There's a lot
It
of people
became
here.
real.
And then I was like, oh man, I was like a part of this. And then that feeling never really kind of goes away. Or it goes away and then you're always trying to replicate that feeling. And so that kind of, I always told Mike Manuel was one of the people involved in that party. And I remember vividly telling him, this is going to be the worst thing that ever happened to us, right? And he's like, why? I'm like, we're going to want to do this all the time now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he actually did go on to do it full time.
You got a taste of the real deal.
Yeah. It was just it was very surreal to be part of, because like I was saying, we skipped a lot of steps, right? Like
But that doesn't happen very often, skipping steps. So like people can't just expect to do that.
no, we skipped some steps, but then went backwards and then had to work our way back up again. So to everyone listening, it's magic. The magic doesn't happen all the time. So, but
Yeah.
we got knocked down a few pegs after that, and then had to kind of figure out what to do after that.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that from the things that I've done in the past, I remember doing my first bar gig when I was like 16 or 17.
16 doing your first bar gig. All right, cool.
I remember calling I was looking up like phone numbers of like DJ companies, and I just started calling all of them. They were like disc jockey companies that like did weddings and stuff like that. But there was one that was like something about, I can't remember what the ad was, something that they do DJ placement in bars and stuff. So I called the guy. I was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't know, this sounds kind of sketchy, but whatever. You're 17, you don't give a shit.
Take the risk. What do you got to lose?
I don't remember the bar's name, but I do remember it was an Ajax. And I remember showing up to the gig, and there was like 5 people in the bar, I think. And this intense like DJ setup. Like it was literally like I was in a living room. Yeah. I was literally like, it was almost like a setup in like a shed with, you couldn't see out. I had to look out like a little window to like see the rest of the bar. But I remember doing that going, man, this sucks. Like,
Am I signing up for this?
yeah, I was like, this is terrible. I was like, it's kind of better to be in my room DJing. And I think the lesson that came from that was I got to figure out a way to do parties so that there's people there. And that really was how the company kind of started. When I went to university, I was like able to do parties in like my res and like frat parties and stuff, but I never get into bars. So that's pretty much how the idea for the company kind of came about. Was from that lesson learned, I wanted to DJ for a crowd. And
Yeah.
I think that I was just like, man, I can't play for 5 people. This is the worst thing in the world.
It's the worst, but you experienced it, and that's something that people got to realize. Like, you're not just gonna start off doing that. But one thing that I really like that you said is that you only needed one person to answer, and even though that one person was sketchy, it still developed and grew into what it did. So make those phone calls, man.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. All connections that you make in the industry, in any industry that you're in, good or bad, I think there's always a takeaway from it that you know, if you're dedicated to your goal, you're going to take every interaction and every relationship. You're going to take away something, a life lesson from it anyway.
Most definitely. You clearly spent lots of time doing this, and you've been involved in many different parts of the industry. I'm curious to know what is your favorite part so far, at least, and why.
Favorite part, pretty easy. The people. You get to meet tons of people. Like I think the other day I was talking to somebody, and they're like, how many people do you think you meet in a week or like talk to in a week? I was like, I don't know, depending on the year and the size of the bars and the size of the concerts, like probably if personally interacting with like hundreds a day. Easily. And seeing, maybe not directly interacting, but being involved with, you know, thousands of people a week.
Yeah. Is it almost the energy that you're getting from the groups of people? Because there's no way you can actually connect with 1,000 people in a day. So
it definitely is 100%. It's the vibe. I think, you know, when you do this long enough, you take your good days and your bad days, and it's definitely a vibe thing. And then sometimes you take the good with the bad, but sometimes the vibe is not right, and you take that home with you. And you know, if whatever the event that you did wasn't that great, or you felt like people didn't have a good time, that wears on you a little bit. But at the same time, the positive energy that you get from people like that also carries with you too, and it greatly affects your mood and your tone. Everything. So I just think that just, you know, being around lots of people and not having to sit behind a desk has always been attractive for me.
I like that. People can bring negative energy, and out of all the people that you've worked with, perhaps how about we limit it to artists? What is one of your worst experiences that left you feeling negative for the rest of the day or for a week or so?
I wouldn't say that any particular artist who had made anything difficult for me anyway. I mean, I kind of understand the situation that they're in. You know, they're there to perform. They're there to get paid. This is what they do to feed themselves, whatever. So it's a job. Most generally speaking, We dealt in the world of DJs for a very long time. I don't know if I don't know how many DJs you've been around in your life, probably a lot, but DJs are pretty solitary creatures. Um, they're they're music nerds, and a lot of them are computer nerds. So they're pretty easygoing and like really easy to get along with. Where the part of where things get difficult is dealing with their management
Mm.
agents. That's the part of it that kind of if there have been experiences in the industry related to the artist, it has more to do with their management, which again they have a job to do, but some agents have a different take on the way they feel they should interact with the talent buyers or the club
Right.
promoters or whatever, right? So
Right. I hear you. What about ridiculous ask writer asks? Have you ever heard anything like that? A quick one before we go on to the next one.
yeah, we've seen some strange. I think they just put shit in riders just to see if you're reading them sometimes. I don't know like which ones we have. We've seen riders with no green M&Ms.
You've seen that, hey? So it's not just myth.
No, it's not. But I swear, I talked to an agent before, and they're like, sometimes we just put weird shit in it just to make sure that people are paying attention.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Because a lot of times when riders go out too, um, it'll be like it'll be like their concert rider, and and
Mm.
you've booked them for like a 500-600 person like small venue, and like you're like, I don't think you need 100 chicken wings. You know what I mean?
For no, definitely not. That's jokes. That's jokes. Perfect. Well, that was our not so basic round, and we're gonna move swiftly into the speed round. You ready for that?
Sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. So here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Pew, pew. That's my fast sound effects. We're going. We're going. So for your listeners out here, the rules of this is I'm going to ask you 20 questions rapidly, and you have to answer by either saying yes, no, this, that, neither, and then afterwards you will have the opportunity to go over a couple of them. All right?
Okay.
Beautiful. Do you still DJ?
Yes.
Summer or winter?
Oh, summer.
Love or money?
Love.
Leisure or luxury?
Leisure.
Is the customer always right?
No.
Burgers or tacos?
Burgers.
Ooh. Does your birthday always happen on the same day?
No.
Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
London or Toronto?
London.
Interesting. Have you ever been disappointed in the outcome of a night or event that you've had a hand in?
Hundreds of times.
Hundreds of times. Passenger or driver?
Driver.
Do you prefer to watch a movie at home or at the theater?
Theater.
Do you think artists are the easiest people in the industry to work with?
No.
Hesitation there. Do you prefer day or night?
Night.
Rich or successful?
Successful.
Do you want to work hard or play hard? You can say both.
Both.
Both. Nice. My man. Honesty or other feelings?
Honesty.
Do you prefer to wear a game face or do you smile?
Game face.
Game face all day. Forgotten or remembered for all the wrong reasons?
Ooh. Forgotten for all
That's
the
a
wrong
tough
reasons.
one.
I don't know.
Forgotten?
Yeah.
Forgotten. Boom. That's it. That's it. That's the 20 round. We made it through the round. Is there anything that you would like to clarify?
Uh, hmm. Which ones did I hesitate on? I can't remember which ones I hesitated on.
The London to Toronto
Uh,
because
oh, I think, well, I live in London now and raised a family here, so I have no
fair.
reason to.
And then another one that you hesitated on are artists are the easiest people in the industry to work with.
Yeah, that's tough to say. I wouldn't say that for sure. I think that some are very easy to work with. A lot of
Yeah.
them are, but um, no, there's definitely it's definitely a mix. Definitely a mix.
It comes down ultimately to the person, not necessarily their chosen profession.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You gotta be a people person to do well. You gotta be patient too, no?
Oh yeah.
Yes. And then the last one, um, I want to ask you about forgotten or remembered for all the wrong reasons. You hesitated for that one. That was tough.
Yeah, I think you have to. Do you want to give me an example of something so I can make sure I answer this correctly?
Okay, an example of forgotten. So life comes to end and you're just off. All of whatever you've done is gone with the wind, or people remember you for your poor traits.
Oh, I don't want to remember for my poor traits.
So you're okay with just being wiped from existence?
Yeah, sure. I don't want to be a piece of.
It sounds really bleak when you put it that way.
Yeah, it's a pretty bleak question.
Maybe you could choose better questions, man. Yeah, those
Oh,
questions suck.
damn. Okay, angry sound guy.
I think maybe. Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think maybe I would want to be remembered for the things that I did, whether they were good or not, because at least I tried, right? I
I
wouldn't
like
necessarily.
that.
I wouldn't want to be remembered for being a shit guy. If I did a bunch of stuff and failed, I wouldn't mind being remembered for that because at least I
You tried.
stepped up, right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You got to try. You got to try. I like that a lot. That brings us to the end of the speed round, and I'm a fan of considering different perspectives, so this is exactly what this next segment is designed to do. Next up, we're going to do boom, what's yo take? Yeah, yeah. This is going to be real juicy. I don't know why I'm saying juicy. Anyway, what's your take? What we're going to do here is I'm going to provide you with different quotes, statements, topics, or ideas, or concepts, whatever you want to call them. And we just want you to share your opinion, your perspective. Cool?
Okay.
Deal. So, first and foremost, I'm going to start with keeping things fresh and new in the events world does not come easy. What you think? What's your take?
Very, very true. It's after there's only so many ideas, right? So I think when you've been doing it for a long time, you feel like at some point that you're recycling old ideas, right? Um, I th- a big part of staying relevant is being okay with understanding that you don't know everything. You're going to need to find.
That's the truth.
It's always good to get, especially the industry that we're in. It's always good to get the up and comers perspective. The people who are just entering the scene because they have a lot riding on this, right? So
It's true.
they're always thinking, they're always very immersed in like and accepting of new ideas and stuff. Whereas when you've been doing this for a little while, I think you get stuck in a cycle. You get stuck in doing what's comfortable.
Yeah, when you get stuck in routine, it happens often. You're like, "Oh no, this is what works. This is always what's worked. So why would I change it up?" And I see that attitude as well. But a lot of the newcomers are sometimes not necessarily terrified, but they're intimidated by coming in and approaching and voicing their opinions. And that only really hurts them, no?
Yeah, for sure. I think that the reason why, well, you've probably done this before, when you pick up something new, um, you learn the basics and you kind of study the people who've come before you and
Yeah.
learn the basics.
Yeah.
And then you kind of put your own interpretation on it because you're adding like your flair or your whatever it might be. Could be music, could be throwing parties, anything.
Right.
So it's nice to get another perspective from someone who's just kind of like in that learning process because they've adapted the things that they've seen maybe you do or people that are your peers do, and then they adapt it to meet their skill sets, and their skill sets kind of like come through
Right.
once they've kind of honed the basics.
It's true. It's true. It needs time to flower, to mature.
Yep.
You get all the recipes, but like the cake has to sit before you cut it in, you know?
Yeah. 100%.
And then a combination of the more experienced individuals with the newcomers is where you can come up with fresh and new ideas for the events that you're doing. That's a lot of the time how you're going to see things flourish. No?
I would say that I don't think, myself and, my partner now, we're not necessarily the ideas guys as much anymore. Our role is more to find the people who are, younger and super interested in doing and getting involved, doing the stuff and getting involved, and then being a facilitator. I think that's what you kind of have to do. You have to be okay
Absolutely.
with letting go some of those responsibilities and basically providing that next generation with the tools to be successful, because that's the only way, as a group, as a company, you're going to stay relevant.
Agreed. Everyone has their role. My next statement. We get a lot of headaches from this one. The cost of cover and drinks at bars are overpriced. What's your take?
I think it depends on the perspective. There's a lot that goes into running a business, and anybody who is involved in hospitality can appreciate the fact that the margins aren't the greatest. There's a lot of hidden fixed costs that people don't see, and there's a lot that goes into, like, even just throwing a party. People think, oh, here's 4 walls, a roof, and a door, throw in a sound system and find a DJ and let's go. I mean, if it was that easy, I think everyone and their cousin would own a bar, right? Or everyone would, right? Or everyone would do a concert, right? So yeah. I remember this. I remember having this conversation with this girl. She used to come to all of our concerts, and she used to buy tickets. And she was like, "How come your tickets are so expensive?" And I was like, "How much do you think a DJ costs?" And she's like, "I don't know, like $200-$300." And I was like, "Wow."
No.
So I think part of it too is, and I always say this when we get approached. Concerts is actually a really good one. When we get approached by people all the time. Hey, we want to do a concert. Okay. Let's say I was like, hey, I want to start a podcast. You would be like, okay, these are the things that I need. You know that microphone costs X amount of dollars. That right. Camera costs X amount of dollars. When you go shopping for talents, when you go to do talent buy, there's no menu. There's no website that you go to and say Martin Garrix is this price and for a limited time 10% off. It's a very strange dynamic to put together these events, because there's no fixed cost. You just know it's going to cost you a lot of money, but
dollar bills. Yes.
You just have no idea, because it goes purely on supply and demand, and if they want to get out of bed, if the artist wants to get out of bed that day.
Huh.
Right. So, but even things like bars, like, insurance, like it's not cheap to insure a bar. It's not cheap to insure an event. Security, at the Frog in the summertime, when we have, when we're going through thousands of people in a night, there's 35 security guards. If you do the math, even, you do the math, they're being paid between $15 and $20 an hour times 35 people times 4 to 5 hours.
It adds up.
I mean, that alone, right? And then there's your COGS, your cost of goods. It costs money to buy the alcohol, right? It costs money to pay the people who serve those drinks. So I think the hospitality industry is definitely a luxury item.
Yes,
it's a luxury item. So especially what we're going through right now. I think people are going to evaluate what they spend their hard-earned dollars on. So is it overpriced? If you're buying it, then no. Because you made a choice. You made the choice to pay. Because it's true. I mean, you could go to 2 bars, right? Let's go to bar A and bar B. They're serving the same drinks.
Yeah.
Same drinks, same glassware, but one drink is $8.50 and one drink is $6.25. Why the markup, right? What's the difference? I love the entertainment and hospitality because it is the true free market economy. You know what I mean?
Like, no lie.
Like, if you really want to be there, I can charge you $20 and you're going to have to pay it.
And if you don't, see the door.
Exactly. And when we hire people at the bar, or for bars that we've been working with in the past, we always ask people, I always ask the person, what do you think we sell here? And people, the obvious answer is, oh, we sell, like, you pay door cover and you pay for drinks. I'm like, so that's when you're overpriced. You're overpriced when people are there to buy drinks. They're not there to buy drinks. They're there to have a good time.
The experience.
They're paying for the experience.
Right.
If people are there to pay for drinks, then you're not doing something right. You know what I mean? Like, they're there to, like, you can see two concert events. Like, there is obviously a lot more restrictions with artists, but you can see two concerts, two comparable venues. One ticket could be more expensive than the other. Maybe in one city, the tickets are selling twice as fast, so the ticket price is going to go up, right? So I think the price is relative. I think the price is dictated by the market, is dictated by the marketplace. And I think that bar owners and nightclub owners price their product so that they can make a profit. And you guys have all been seen bars. Like, there's not a lot of bars that stick around for more than 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? There's some staples, but so you never know when your time is coming, because, like, we had this conversation earlier, man. Like, if you're not one of those people that's staying on top of it, and you're not connecting with the next generation of people, your cycle is done. Bars go in cycles, right? You have about most bars, especially in university type towns, you have a 4 or 5 year life cycle, maybe 3 to 5 years, and then you kind of have to reinvent yourself a little bit and bring new people in. Otherwise, you're not relevant anymore.
Yeah, it's a thing of the past. Wow. Okay. Next statement. Talent buying is a simple process.
Yeah, absolutely false.
Well, go on. Why? Why is that?
I mean, it can be sometimes. Sometimes you can just get lucky and it just works out. But the majority of the time, the talent buy is people think of that as the most glamorous part of doing of putting on the show. Mm-hmm. I'd say it's the most stressful. Top 2 or 3 things that are most stressful for putting together a concert, but it definitely is not an easy process, because there's all kinds. Like I was saying, it's not like buying apples and oranges at the supermarket, right? You kind of have a ballpark for what the price might be, but then you have to match flights, itineraries, scheduling. There's all kinds of scheduling things. Like, I remember booking when we did Avicii. He played a show for us in London, and then he flew to Syracuse right afterwards to do another show. So
Syracuse.
There's been some crazy routings for shows. Like, in order to get an artist to one of our concerts, we have to book a private jet, and then the jet has to come lands at a certain time. Then we have to get them back to the airport and on their flight by a certain time. We've gone through customs issues. We fill out the paperwork, and then some of these artists, they just want to do what they want to do. Yeah. So I mean, there's the talent buy is it's not for the faint of heart. That's why not a lot of people can do it, and it is a relationship. It's a very relationship based industry. So it can get tricky with people's feelings getting hurt. And, there's also I mean, there's only one Calvin Harris, right? And there's only one Martin Garrix, and you can't book them both on the same. You can't book people on the same date at the same time, right? So a lot of times, sometimes you might get caught in like a bidding war, and that's something you don't want to do, right? And then and then there's contracts, all that kind of stuff. Got to make sure.
So it is far, far, far from simple.
Yeah, I think it goes back to my point I made with that girl that I had a conversation with about her thinking that DJs cost like $400 or $500 to book. And it's just it's not,
quite ignorant.
Like these Yeah, I think a lot of people think that. I don't think people really know how much DJs or artists make, right? Um, but yeah, the talent buying process is not a fluid process. There's no playbook. You can't. There's no. If you were like, hey, okay, give me these 10 steps that I have to follow to do this, you could give somebody a general guideline, but it's just you. I mean, I'm not the person who does the talent buying. I'm part of the process, but I've always told all my partners involved, like, I don't want to be the person who deals with the agents, because that's not something that
Right.
I don't have a stomach for that stuff.
Fair. That's a different world. Understandable. Okay. And I got one more here for you. I lied. I got two more here for you because I can't read very well. Success comes to those who wait. This is more motivational. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, two things. Wait, how long? I don't know. There's no time frame, and success is relative too. I think depending on what stage you're at, depending on what you do, I think going into it, for me, only speaking from my own experience,
Yeah.
I didn't know what success was going to be like, because there was no model for this. There was like, no one was like, you didn't go to school and you're like, okay, when you graduate from this is how much money you're going to make. Like, there was no like blueprint for us to follow. So I think that almost helped me, because, well, it's been detrimental sometimes too, but generally speaking, it's kind of helped because there was no perceived ceiling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No limit.
If you're going to be a doctor, like, they lay it out for you. Like, there's like steps, or like a lawyer, there's like steps. You want to make partner, like, you know what I mean? There's an aspiration
Structure.
for you a structure for you to follow. And that in some regards makes it easier for people. I think it's easier to visualize, like, where you want to be.
Yeah, for sure.
For what we do, you're always kind of chasing a feeling, right? You're chasing that, like, euphoria of being successful. Well, depending on what you think successful is, but whatever that is. But yeah, it's and yeah, there's definitely patience involved with, all good things happen for people that are willing to put in the time.
I agree.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't just sit on the sideline and expect something to happen because you've waited. You have to actively wait, I would say, if that's even a term.
I think there's a group of DJs that I work with, and one guy specifically over the past 4 or 5 years that I've helped out some DJs who wanted to get started in the industry and stuff. And the one thing that I always say to them is, because you get the question that I get a lot, because, like I was saying, like, let's use using DJing as an example here.
Yeah.
Like, how long does it take to be a good DJ? And it's a very strange question, but if you look at it from the way we're socialized, we're like, okay, if you go to high school for 4 years, and then you go to university for 4 years, and then you do your master's for 2 years, this is what you get. Here's the carrot, right? So I think we're so maybe not so much this new generation coming up, but maybe they'll be more open to, like, the newer concepts. But, like, we're very socialized to believe that you X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas when these things, being in the creative field, it's very difficult to be like, I've seen people pick things up in like 2 weeks, and you're like, how the hell did you do that?
Damn.
And then I've seen people struggle with it for years, and then, like, you'll meet them like 2 years later, and then it just clicks, right? There's like they have like an epiphany, and it just like works, right? So yeah,
just got to stick around long enough.
Yeah, you do.
Keep on trying.
The thing that I would say to people is, you don't know when your moment. My point was that you don't know when your moment is going to come. My first DJ gig, like serious DJ gig, was because a DJ got sick.
Oof.
And I was playing in another room, like a small room, and the general manager of the bar came up to my friend and I, who were DJing at the time. He was like, "How would you guys fill in for him this Saturday?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure." So we came in, we practiced, we got all ready, and we were like, we DJed this thing like it was the most important thing in my life, right? In our lives. And the guy came up to us at the end of the night and was like, yeah, you guys are back every Saturday night.
Boom.
So
Yep.
that, and I took that as that was a huge learning experience. That was a big time a learning experience for me. I took away more in that moment than any education that I've received in my lifetime. That, you know, you just don't know when your moment's gonna come. But when it does, you better be ready.
You better believe that.
Because you don't know when it's gonna come again.
It's true. It's true. Just a fun fact. A moment is actually a 90-second period of time. Just throwing that in there.
Yeah, I bet you that conversation I had with that general manager at the time was a 90-second conversation.
There you go. Life-altering 90 seconds. My last what's your take is you're infamous for not answering your phone. What's going on there?
Hold on. Let's see where I'm at right now.
This is live, guys. He's checking this live.
I don't know if you guys can see this. I won't. Oh, I can't. I don't know without showing you my messages. But I have currently 597 unchecked messages. Now that's an accumulation of over probably a year now.
This is only text?
Yeah, just text messages.
Say what?
I do it to myself.
You do it to yourself? Do you just put your number out everywhere?
Yes. So, you know, when you run a bar, you manage all the DJs, you manage all the staff. So scheduling, staffing stuff, all comes to my phone. Customer complaints, customer concerns, all comes to my phone. I think a lot of it's like group chats and stuff like that too. I just don't. I like, you know, when you're in like a group chat with a bunch of friends, and you're like, at some point, you're like, I can't.
Right. But why not? Why not having like even going and getting two different numbers? One's your business phone, and then one's your personal phone. Or you just have no interest in responding to people.
I think that would look super sketchy.
A little
yeah, just I think I've made. I also what happens to me a lot too sometimes is, I don't know if this happens to you guys too. You're typing someone a message and then you get a phone call, and then you forget about it, and then I'll go back and then you'll go back, and then you'll have to go message somebody about it, and it's saved what you were gonna type to them, and you're like, holy shit, like.
Whoops.
You messaged me 2 weeks ago about this.
Well, why not get an assistant then?
Funny thing is at work I do have one.
Ah. So you're just not good at answering your phone.
Yeah. Are you applying?
I need a job. Louis doesn't pay well.
Don't tell people that.
I am notoriously bad with my phone. You hit that. You hit that on the nail on the head.
That's great. That does bring us to the end of that challenge. What fun. But next up, we've got our wheel challenge. Are you in to spin? Boom, that was my drum line. Brrr.
Who's the old guy?
Who's the old guy? That's the grumpy sound guy. He's the one trying to run the sound, but he's doing a poor job at it.
That's your stereotypical sound guy?
Yeah, or a stereotypical angry sound guy, because none of them really enjoy.
It's true. That's funny about that graphic. I'm just imagining he's smoking that cigarette without his hands. It's just hanging out the corner of his mouth the entire time, and he's working a soundboard with both hands.
I'm the real talent here, man. Just don't get it messed up.
And then you get the ash. You know when the ash is at the end of the cigarette, and you're looking at the guy, and you're like, "Yo, ash that cigarette."
Ash it. So true. So true. That's jokes. All right. So for the wheel challenge, what I'm going to do is spin for you for obvious reasons, and then you get to complete whatever task is assigned on each of the rungs, or whichever rung you get. You may get lucky, you may not. If you don't want to face your challenge, you do have the option of opting out, but that's no fun. We're just gonna get to it and see what happens, okay?
All right, let's do it.
Deal. And we're going. It's happening. Okay, all right. This is the good one. This is Rhyme and Relate, the good one. I like them all, but this one really stands out because I get to participate more. This one is called Rhyme and Relate. And so what we're going to do is we're going to throw back a couple different words and we're going to try and rhyme them and relate them. So I will start with a word and then you have to rhyme it and then I have to relate to your word. So for example, I say fly and you say sky and I say bird and you say word. And we keep on going. You have 3 seconds to say a word, and if you don't do it, you time out, you lose. Cool? And then you start with rhyming, and we'll switch roles. Deal?
So wait, you're starting?
I'll start, with rhyming. So you rhyme first, okay? Promote.
Demote.
Lower.
Higher.
Fire.
Flyer.
Show.
Go.
Where?
Over there.
Fair. No, I don't know. Damn. I think I messed that up. Over there does work, though. It rhymes. We never said one word.
Yeah,
So that's
I
1
wasn't
point for
sure.
you. That's 1 point for you. I'm surprised we didn't get no input from the angry sound guy for me messing up, but that's okay. Do you want to? So next up, you got to choose a word
Okay.
to rhyme. All right? Or so you start, and then I rhyme it, and you have to relate. So we switch here.
Okay. Show.
Flow.
Go.
Monopoly. Wait, I just lost. Because I have to rhyme. Damn.
Oh, we played the
This
same
is
game.
no good. This is not a good look for me right now. Okay. Well,
You
you've got
suck at
2 out
this,
of 3.
man. You
Hey,
suck
yeah.
at this. You're supposed to be good at this.
I thought I was supposed to be good at this as well. I don't know what's going on today. But we got one more. Hopefully you don't sweep me. And this time I'm going to rhyme and you're going to relate. And clearly I have to remember those rules because that didn't work out too well. Last one is party.
Tardy.
Sweet.
Feet.
Smell.
Towel.
Story.
Gory.
Fight.
Might.
Insect. Ooh, ooh. That's 3 seconds. I got him. 2-1. You still took the whole thing, but I didn't get swept, so I can live with that.
Oh, that was a good one.
That's a good one. Beautiful. Well, there's only one way to describe that last segment, and it is a wheel challenge. I wonder what we're going to get on the next episode. Stay tuned. But for now, we're going to move into our final segment of the day, which is Clear the Air. Pow, pow, pow. What we're going to do with Clear the Air is we're going to eliminate brain fog for our listeners. We're going to be throwing different common issues within the industry, and we want you to help us navigate them better. Essentially, we want to be better people, and we're hoping you can help us do that. Cool?
Mm-hmm.
Deal. My first question for you is, what exactly is a buzz, and how do you create it?
We're talking about party buzz, or what are we talking about?
In terms of, now that I read the question out, I was like, oh, this makes a different sense.
remember what industry we're in here, right?
Yeah, for real. Damn. No, let's say
creating
it's
like a promotional
release.
buzz.
Yeah, promotional buzz, a release, some kind of event, even.
So I mean, this isn't rocket science, but I think from the very beginning, with all the people that I've had the opportunity to work with, the one thing that we've always agreed on is you start everything from the nucleus. So I've always been a firm believer that, let's say you want to start a party, a Thursday night party at Big Lou's Bar.
Hey, it sounds like a good time.
You need like, we refer to them in the hospitality industry as like your regulars, right?
Yeah.
So that is the key to the success that I think of creating buzz around events is having like a group of people that you can kind of stir things up with a little bit, that are going to, in this day and age, that they're going to help you make it go viral, because the message has to emanate from somewhere, right? it has to start from somewhere. If you look at it as like something that's organic, when you want lots of people to know about something, and sometimes you don't know why, you just do a better job of it because what the dialogue that you're having with people, it just resonates with them.
Yeah.
So you go to a group of people and you get people excited about an idea or a concept or whatever it is that you're trying to stir up a buzz for, and you're hoping that this nucleus crowd of people that you've given this information or trying to get excited about it, they take the next step for you, because that's when you have like real street buzz for something. And that's generally how you can kind of gauge the success of your events. It's generally the how we've always kind of gauged how well we're doing with our advertising is how organically are we growing our message. Because you can spend all the money you want on ads. If the content that you've put together is really good, it's going to be an organic process.
Right.
So creating buzz it's not an exact science. Sometimes you do something and you're like, I have no idea why this resonated with people. There's lots of factors. Timing. Just timing, what's going on in the marketplace at the time. That's why I think, back to one of the points that we had talked to earlier about why it's important to connect with people in your industry, and especially up and comers, is they're so immersed in the culture at the beginning. When you're trying to learn anything, you're so knee deep in it.
Head first,
you're paying attention to everything. And when you're paying attention to everything, it's a lot easier to take every little detail into account. The more information and details you can take into account, like what's popular on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, what types of messaging, because the types of advertising that people are doing changes, like sometimes daily, you know what I mean? Like before blogs used to be really, really big part of communication for music, right?
Yeah.
Now if you want to put out messages, how long can you put an Instagram story up for? 15 seconds
now, yeah.
So you basically have 14 or 15 seconds to put out your message, right? Which is not a lot of time, but that's just the platform that you have to adapt to, right? So creating a buzz is really just you have to be able to digest and have at your fingertips as much information as you possibly can, and make the most educated decision that you can, because you might miss your mark. I very rarely do you get the metrics that you're looking for in an advertising campaign, but you aim high and hope that you kind of
shoot for the moon, land amongst the stars.
Yeah, you land around the mark or around the goal that you had set for yourself.
Yeah. I think in my experience, at least, the best way to excite someone, I should choose my words more wisely. The best way to excite regulars would be to be the most excited person there. They feed off of that energy.
Yeah, in our bar and nightclub environment, we are in the business of collecting people. That's what we do, right? So, 100%, you're the bar and nightclub environment is almost like a little world, right? So there's all different types of personalities. There's all different types of interactions that you're going to have in a night. If you just think about if you think about the way that the bars are split up, right? Like it's a very confined space, but it is a cross section of our society. There's socioeconomic segregation that happens in a bar. There's gender separation. Like there's definitely like different sects of society that you could see within a bar. Like when you walk in, you're like, oh, these are there's stereotypes, right? That this is where these type of people hang. Yeah, this is right.
That's true though. That's true.
So you're kind of collecting all these people and you're mixing them all into a pot, and then, but if you're smart and you're a person who's you're orchestrating the party. That's what I always look at, people who are really good general managers and really good bar owners. What they're like the director of this like ongoing, and you know how dramatic bars and nightclubs are, right? Like it's an ongoing it's an ongoing soap opera every week, 2, 3, 4 times a week. Like you're directing all these people and how they coexist in this environment together to make it a good time. So bringing in the right personalities is absolutely paramount to the success of your bar, because you want people there who are characters, and you know, like it makes the party a lot more fun.
Yeah,
people
exactly.
want to see and be around people who are, you generally you go out to have a good time, right? Generally speaking.
Typically speaking,
So,
yes.
Typically, so you know, you want to try to have groups of people there who are there to have a good time, because that is infectious.
Yeah, it's important. All right. So, Derek, we spoke a little bit earlier on past events sometimes not going so well. And I wonder, is there ever a time where there were guests that were severely disappointed? Maybe it's because the talent wasn't the right fit or they didn't show up. Something went wrong. How did you deal with it going wrong?
Well, I can touch on it from multiple angles, the way that you pose the question. So, have I had artists not show up? Yep, have. I think we had a little incident with ASAP Rocky last year. Decided to get himself arrested. Well, we knew he wasn't going to show up, but so there was a lot of people who were disappointed that he wasn't going to perform. But the show must go on, right? And
I hear that.
So people are going to be disappointed. I've had lots of times where the talent didn't work out, or specifically with talent. That was an unfortunate incident. I'm a huge ASAP fan, so it was like a big thing for me too. But there was a lot of people that were disappointed. But there was still a good show and still a lot of other good artists that were going to be there. And you know, with social media, there's, you know, people have a free voice to say whatever they want now with no repercussions, right? So it doesn't really matter. That being said, I think you have to, you know, I think the input's important, but you can't let the feedback paralyze the decision-making process, right? You got to keep living, you got to keep working, you got to keep doing your thing, right? So in terms of talent, that does happen. There's nothing you can do about it. Those are things that you cannot control. So focus on the things that you can control. With bar events, lots of things can go wrong, man. You just get the wrong group of people. I've had bathroom floods, fire alarms, like you name it, it's happened. DJ, sound equipment goes, like it's all happened. It's just a lot of what you guys are doing. This isn't live per se, but there is a live element to it. You know, computers crash, microphones don't work. It's just about, you know, you just kind of, hey, these things happen. And I also think that it adds a little bit of once it's done and you're done feeling like this is the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your entire life, there is a little bit of a human element to it. You know, my wife is filming. She films all of her workouts in our home studio now because of, you know, the times have kind of changed right now. So she has like a fitness programs that she posts online, and she does live workouts every morning. Awesome. And, you know, there's all kinds of things that happen, you know, the kids run down the stairs and they're in the video all of a sudden. You're just like, hell, just gonna have to go with it, right?
We're now here.
But I think people, when things are really, really polished and produced, people think that that's like an unattainable thing, right? When you add that little bit of, when you add some mistakes and you add like things that kind of happen, there is a human element that kind of like comes into it. And people, I think for the most part, people are pretty forgiving. I mean, there's going to be trolls. That's the way.
Of course, most definitely. But there is perfection. There's perfection in the imperfection.
Exactly. I think that people are generally going to be pretty, and anything that we've kind of done, our main concern has always been, are you having a good time? Because I've always believed, I've lived by this philosophy my entire career in this industry is that you're only as good as your last party. Doesn't matter if you've done 100, 1,000, or 1,000,000. People are going to remember their last time. So if you operate under that principle, you're always going to try to do what is in the best interest of making sure that people continue to have a good time. So if you make a mistake, you want to move. So there's a good and the bad, right? So yes, maybe people forget what you've done 10 years ago, but you can make it up real quick, because if you throw a good party next week, all is forgotten. All is forgotten and all is forgiven.
And so clearly you've experienced several challenges here working within Canada, but you've also worked internationally. Are there other challenges that you've experienced abroad that you wouldn't have experienced here?
Yeah, you're not in your country.
Number one.
I mean, let's use Mexico as an example here. I don't know if you guys have been to Mexico before. I love Mexico.
Mexico, Toltec, Cancun.
They have a whole different set of laws, and it's an interesting place to be. The rules are different. So yeah, I just think there's different cultures, different language barriers, cultural barriers, and what we think is okay here or not okay here is, the rule book is different.
It's just different.
Yeah, and I also think that, when you're in your hometown, like, you party, but when you go to Mexico, there's only one reason you're there. It's the party, right? So like everyone's mentality is completely different. Everything is just gong show, super personified, right? Like it starts at 10 a.m., right? Like whereas,
and it ends at 9:30 a.m.
Yeah. You get a half an hour nap in, and then do what you got to do to stay awake.
Yeah, for real. That's the truth. Damn.
Yeah, so I'd say that it's fun. It's fun doing stuff in different countries. It's definitely not a vacation.
Still work. Yeah, that's true.
It's just the travel stuff was difficult to continue to do. I hope things get better in Mexico. It just wasn't really. We just felt that it wasn't. We could have kept doing it. We just didn't feel like it was a safe endeavor anymore.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to be safe. If you're looking out for so many people, you're responsible. Of course, you have to make that decision.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, when we first started doing it, we never took that into consideration. Like I remember being on a trip. I can't remember how many people there were. There's like an infamous resort in Cancun. It's called the Oasis.
Yeah.
And I remember we were there, and I think we had 500 or 600 people on this trip, and I was like, oh man, like I'm responsible for all of these people. Like, what if somebody misses their flight? Like something stupid, you know what I mean? Like, what if somebody goes missing? Like, you know how many times people would we told people, yo, make sure you know like which direction you're supposed to get on the city buses and all that kind of stuff, right?
People don't listen. People
getting lost and stuff, or like, I was just like, holy shit, like I'm responsible for all these people. I remember one year I couldn't go on a trip, and a flight got canceled or something like that, and I'm like dealing with parents freaking out that their kids are stuck at airports and stuff. I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just a guy who booked a trip for people.
Yeah, for real.
You know what I mean? And so there's all kinds of other challenges that you face when you're not in your hometown. I think you don't really appreciate how easy you have it when you're working in your hometown, right? But it's nice to mix it up and like do some different things, as long as you can figure out a way to do it in a safe way, and you, in order to execute events in other cities. It wasn't like we just landed. Like we would go, whoever I was working with at the time, we would go a week before students would land,
right?
And get ready beforehand, get an idea of like how everything kind of operates, who you got to talk to. I mean, you guys have been in nightclubs before, right? So like, you can't be standing at the door with all your guests and who do you got to talk to get in, right? You don't want to have a trip of a few hundred people, and you have no idea how to get people into their
There's a lot of background work.
Yeah, you got to put in the work, just like anything else. We are selling a good time, but there's no good times being had while you're doing these events. Like,
most definitely.
The good times are had towards the end, when you're like, okay, my anxiety level is pretty low now.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to go wrong. And then you have a little bit of time to kind of sit back and reflect on a job well done.
That's a good
because it's realistically, like there's like a small little window, right? You have like 5 minutes during an event where you're like, oh, I feel pretty good about this. And then it's gone. But you're constantly chasing that feeling.
Yeah.
Every event that you do, it's that 5 minutes of euphoria that you're constantly kind of trying to recapture on an event to event basis. It's not like you're enjoying this. Yeah, you're not enjoying this thing. If the concert's 3 hours, you're not like, I'm in heaven for 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the first 2 hours, you're like, oh my God, I hope the lights don't all turn off and the sound system stays on.
The background stuff. Absolutely. Absolutely. And with all of this going on, even being at the event, you're very busy. Being outside of the event, you're very busy. How do you find a balance between your work and your personal life? Because that's something a lot of people will struggle with.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and give you the magic formula for it. I'm not going to say that I've done a very good job of it. You have to have a pretty understanding family to be able to be in this industry, because the hours are really strange. Sometimes you're walking in when they're getting ready for work. You're going to bed when they're waking up. But it doesn't feel like work. It still doesn't really feel like work to me. So that's how I know I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But balancing it, I mean, clearly I don't have the magic formula, because I can't answer all my messages all the time.
I don't blame you. Well, 569.
Yeah, but I mean that's a lot of it. I was going to say is I think it's been very hard for me to let go of certain things. I mean, during the day or night of concert, I'm still the person that gets all the messages for. There isn't 2 names at will call for me to get in with my friends for guest list. Like, I still deal with all that stuff. I mean, so I'm like,
you got to delegate that.
Exactly. You're right. I'm procuring concerts and I'm dealing with, multi-million-dollar budgets, but I'm still, standing at the will call being like, oh, your name is not on the guest list. Let me fix this. You know what I mean? Like, but I think if I didn't do that part of it, I don't know if I'd still really like doing this. I like.
Oh, interesting.
I do find a little bit of pleasure still in, that student who is working for you shows up at the concert, and like, you've been behind the scenes planning this massive concert, but you're still in the trenches doing guest list, scanning like barcodes off people's or RFID tags on people. You're still putting bracelets on people going to concerts and stuff like that. I don't know.
You have fun with it.
I don't know if I'd like it if I just stood backstage the whole time and did nothing.
You like the element of interacting, socializing, being with people.
I also think that I've had the chance to do everything in the industry, from cleaning to where I am now. So I believe that it's a lot. I've always told this to people who like I've been training to do things or worked with in the past. I don't feel like anybody works for me. I always feel like I work with people, whether or not they're the person there that's to set up the fence, or the person who's doing the lighting. Like
collaboration.
These collaborations are massive undertakings, and it takes a massive amount of people to make them work. And
that's the truth.
I've just been super fortunate in my life to connect myself with the right people who have the same ambition and want to like do a good job and put on good shows. And through a lot of luck and a lot of good relationships, that I've been fortunate enough to be able to do a lot of these things.
Yeah. And here you are today, the man.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's been a wild ride, and I still like I said, I still enjoy, like, even when we're doing like things like bar events, I still like being out front, talking to everybody. That's how I think I still find a way to be relevant and find that next generation of people who are gonna come into the industry. That's like what gets me excited about going to work and like doing things, is meeting that like next generation of people, and help them helping me and me helping them. There's like, it's a symbiotic relationship.
It is
right?
symbiotic.
Like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And the community's feeling that. The community's feeling that, Derek. And we want to thank you for that. So much information, very valuable. But it brings us to the very end of this episode. I had a lot of fun. I thought it was awesome. I hope you had a fantastic time too. But I want to offer any final words you'd like to share before we close this off. And also, if you'd like to share with the listeners where they can find you on social media or wherever else, if you'd like to do that, this is a great time too.
Closing thoughts? Not really. I think we touched a lot of stuff. I think the main thing is, I think that when I first got into the industry, I had no idea what I was doing, and I think the thing that helped me a lot was trying to connect with people who are in a similar situation and are trying to do the same thing as you. You're not going to be able to do anything really in life without a good support network around you.
True.
And some of us get super lucky and meet the right people. So I just think the trick for me has always been find the right people to be around, to be
Find your crew.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Beautiful. And where can we find you?
All of my social media stuff, personal stuff. I don't exist in the social media world per se, but like you check out the Barking Frog IG pages, IG page, the Premier Life IG account, and then I honestly just 2 days ago I actually reactivated my Instagram, my personal Instagram account. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see you there.
Yeah.
We'll see. Cool. Perfect. With that complete, I would also like to thank our listeners. I hope you guys learned something today. We had a lot of fun. Shout out to our very own Grumpy Sound Guy. Thank you for interrupting us throughout this podcast. I hope you also find a reason to smile, because life is not worth being grumpy all the time.
As always, this was a drag for me. So thanks for nothing.
I thought I could get away with a nice comment here, but nope. Lastly, I want to say shout out to Prevail Media Group. Thank you for your space. It's beautiful. And for the team, we can't do it without you. And how can I forget? The biggest thank you goes out to Derek Young. Thank you for coming out here. Enough said. We out.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, then follow us on Instagram at go.produce. Check out our show notes, support us on Patreon, and help us grow this community. All of this and more can be found on our website at goproduce.ca. I am Big Lou, and I want to make sure that until next time, you go produce.